We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Coming up in the next 1 hour. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S Jaishankar says difficult to have unidimensional relationships in the contemporary world. Highlights the historicity of New Delhi's ties with Moscow and Washington on sidelines of Munich conference. India provides humanitarian aid to Zambia amid cholera outbreak, sends purification supplies, choline tablets and ORS sachets. India showcases its offensive capabilities. Indian Air Force displays unparalleled firepower at Pokhran through Exercise Vayu Shakti-24, while Indian Navy to host the International Maritime Event, Milan 2024 from Tuesday. President Joe Biden asserts NATO is critical to US's survival as defense spending debate takes central stage, urges Congress to pass legislation on new weapons shipments for Ukraine. On to the details now. The three-day Munich Security Conference draws to a close on Sunday. Dubbed the Davos of Defense, the global conference sees heads of state and government officials meet to discuss ongoing conflicts and potential future ones. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S Jaishankar has said other countries shouldn't have a problem with New Delhi buying Russian oil. Dr. Jaishankar added it's a true feat of diplomacy to have so many solid partnerships and it should be admired. He was speaking at the panel discussion with the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and German Foreign Minister Bock next to him, explaining that India is smart to have so many options. Our correspondent Trent Murray has more from Munich.
A panel discussion here alongside his American and German counterpart. The panel was called Growing the Pie, Seizing Shared Opportunities. And he made quite an interesting statement, I thought, around Delhi's international worldview and where it sees itself in the world in its relationships with other countries.
Your question, do we have multiple options? Answer is yes. Is that a problem? Why should it be a problem? If I'm smart enough to have multiple options, you should be admiring me. You shouldn't be criticizing. Now, is that a problem for other people? I don't think so. I don't think so, certainly in this case and in that case, because, look, we try to explain what are the different pulls and pressures which countries have.
Let me read some of it to you. He said it's important to distinguish between being non-West and anti-West. I would categorise India as a country that is non-West, but has an extremely strong relationship with Western countries, which are getting better by the day. Trent Murray for DD India, Munich, Germany.
Well, on the sidelines of the Munich Security Conference in Germany, External Affairs Minister Dr. S Jaishankar on Saturday held a number of bilateral meetings. One of the major highlights was his meeting with U.S. Secretary of State Blinken and with former U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. Both the leaders exchanged views on contemporary politics. EAM S Jaishankar also held a meeting with his Saudi Arabian counterpart Faisal bin Farhan Al Saud and discussed the West Asia situation as a strategic partnership. While meeting his Norway counterpart, Espen Barth Eid, Jaishankar said he had a big picture chat with him in Munich. Let us hear more from our correspondent on India's engagements at the Munich security engagements. Right now, let's move ahead. Russia, Ukraine and West Asia dominated the discussions on the second day of the conference. The U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said there is an extraordinary opportunity in the coming months for Israel to normalize ties with its Arab neighbors. He also emphasized the need for the creation of a Palestinian state.
The U.S. government is working to secure a mega deal that will see the ties between Saudi Arabia and Israel normalize. During a panel discussion, Antony Blinken said there were genuine efforts led by Arab countries to revitalize the Palestinian Authority so it can be more effective in representing the Palestinians.
I think there's an extraordinary opportunity before Israel in the months ahead to actually, once and for all, end that cycle. And it's because there's some new facts that didn't exist before when there were efforts to make peace between Israelis and Palestinians, starting with the fact that virtually every Arab country now genuinely wants to integrate Israel into the region, to normalize relations if they haven't already done so, to provide security assurances and commitments so that Israel can feel more safe and more secure.
While in Munich, Blinken also met Israeli President Isaac Herzog and discussed efforts to reach a hostage deal. India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar on Saturday lauded the efforts at peace and resolution that US Secretary of State Antony Blinken has been putting in through his visits to the region.
Particularly, I think all of us follow the enormous efforts which Tony is putting in right now. We must be clear that what happened on October 7th was terrorism. No caveats, no justification, no explanation. It was terrorism. Eventually, there has to be a permanent fix, a long-term fix. Otherwise, we're going to see a recurrence. And I think today, certainly India has long believed in a two-state solution. We have maintained that position for many decades.
The hostage deal and the humanitarian pause are seen as instrumental in helping advance conversations, which had been frozen in the immediate aftermath of the terrorist attack but have resumed in recent months.
And as fears mount over the impact of misinformation on democracy, world's biggest technology companies have pledged to fight deceptive artificial intelligence-generated content from interfering with global elections this year. A group of 20 tech companies, including Meta, Microsoft, announced at the Munich Security Conference that they would work together to combat the creation and spread of content designed to mislead voters, such as deep fake images, videos and audio. The rapid growth of generative artificial intelligence, which can create text, images and video in seconds in response to prompts, has heightened fears that the new technology could be used to sway major elections this year, as more than half of the world's population is set to head to the polls. Well, India's ruling party, Bharatiya Janata Party's National Convention on Saturday passed a political resolution, Viksit Bharat Modi Ki Guarantee, as a host of party leaders highlighted the government's development and cultural measures in various initiatives. The two-day meeting, which began on the 17th of February, witnessed 11,500 delegates from across the country. The inaugural meeting was attended by Prime Minister Narendra Modi and other BJP leaders. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is also scheduled to address the valedictory session of the meeting today. And India correspondent Kriti Badhera joins us for more from Delhi. Well, Kriti, this will be the last big meeting of the party before the parliamentary elections, and hence we have to see that what happens. Could you tell us more?
Well, good morning, Lipakshi. And yes, you are very correct that this is the last meeting just before the upcoming general elections in India. And the party seems to be in full preparation for the elections. And to tell you, on the inaugural day, which was yesterday, when PM was addressing the Executive Council members, it was a closed meeting with just the office bearers of BJP. So PM has told them how to work for the upcoming elections. And party cadre has been given targets, which is of 370 plus seats for BJP, and for NDA-led government, BJP should target for 400 seats. That is what PM has told the cadre to look upon. And there was a very fine tip which was given by PM to these national office bearers. He told that you have to keep a check on your booths. Every booth should target for 370 plus vote, which it has secured secured in last general election. So that is how the minute planning, I would say, BJP has been doing for upcoming elections. And BJP, of course, is a cadre-based party which denies for family and dynasty politics. And it can be, it's quite visible here also while PM was addressing and while the national president was addressing the inaugural session yesterday. And several policies, a decade-long journey of Modi-led government was thoroughly discussed in length here. And all the schemes, all the policies, right from 2014, be it the Swachhta Abhiyan, then to Ujjwala Yojana, and now when India is heading towards 2047, 100th anniversary of our independence. So all such schemes and policies of government which has eventually led to India's development, all were discussed thoroughly. Over to you, Lipakshi.
Right, Kriti. Also, what are the other big talking points apart from these? Also, Prime Minister Modi is also scheduled to address the valedictory function today.
Yes, of course, today, and I mean, the entire cadre, as you said, 11,500 delegates are here, which are not just the member of parliament, but MLAs, chief ministers and special invitees, all national office bearers are here for this delegation, for this convention meeting, and they are awaiting to hear from PM himself. The entire day PM was sitting here and he was closely observing the inaugural session, the speech, the resolution which came up as Viksit Bharat Modi ki guarantee. So, of course, the Modi ki guarantee will be discussed while PM is addressing the nation. The cadre of BJP and the entire BJP is looking up to it. A huge exhibition for this Viksit Bharat campaign is displayed here in Bharat Mandapam, and it is an honor for the cadre itself to sit in Bharat Mandapam and see that the changes, the magnificent changes the nation has got while this 10-year decade-long journey of Modi-led government. So indeed, the cadre is looking up to the address of PM while he'll be addressing the nation and the BJP cadre throughout the nation today afternoon.
All right.
Lipakshi.
All right. Thank you so much, Kriti, for that information from there. And moving on, Secretary of India's Information and Broadcasting Minister Sanjay Jaju attends a Viksit Bharat Sankalp Yatra program in Indian city of Hyderabad. He interacted with various beneficiaries and inquired about the services offered at the Viksit Bharat Sankalp Yatra Centre. He said that the Viksit Bharat Sankalp Yatra is helping increase the awareness among people about various government programs and schemes.
बात की बड़ी खुशी है कि यहाँ पर सारी भारत सरकार द्वारा चलाई जा रही स्कीम्स का प्रचार प्रसार किया जा रहा है और साथ ही जो स्कीम्स हैं जो भारत सरकार के सहयोग से स्टेट में चल रही हैं और जिसका लाभ लोकल एरियाज़ में मिल रहा है उनके बेनिफिशियरीज़ की एप्लीकेशंस को भी यहाँ पर कलेक्ट किया जा रहा है.
And now let's take a look at other stories making news today. Amid a standoff between the protesters and security personnel at 2 points on the Punjab-Haryana border, the fourth round of talks between farmer organisation and the centre will take place. New Delhi Municipal Council, in collaboration with the Embassy of Netherlands, organised a music concert by Indo-Dutch artists in India's capital, Delhi. The concert was organised on the theme of Song of Water. Artist Pandit Shubhendra Rao and Maestro Saskia Rao performed a mix of tunes of Indo-Dutch music. Addressing a press conference at Bhubaneswar in India's Odisha, Chief Election Commissioner of India Rajiv Kumar said that the Election Commission will publish all the details of the donors and receivers of electoral bonds within the deadline as ordered by the Supreme Court of India. He also informed that the Commission is fully prepared to conduct the upcoming general elections in India. Sanskrit scholar Jagadguru Ramadacharya and renowned Urdu poet Gulzar will receive the 58th Gyanpith Award. Gulzar is known for his work in Hindi cinema and is considered one of the finest Urdu poets of this era. Jagadguru Ram Bhadracharya is a renowned Hindu spiritual leader, educator and writer of more than 240 religious books and texts. The Gyanpith Award is given annually for outstanding contributions to Indian literature. 10-member committee led by 2 Deputy Inspector General rank women officers has been formed to investigate the Sandesh Kali events in West Bengal. Director General of Police said that an area-wise review will be done and Section 144 shall be lifted accordingly. He further also said that the strictest against would be taken if any kind of evidence is found against anybody. And still to come on DD India News Hour. President Volodymyr Zelensky urges allies to send more weapons as Russian-Ukraine conflict enters its 3rd year. Two-day 37th African Union Summit concludes today with leaders prioritizing peace, development and integration. And political uncertainty persists in Pakistan as protest against alleged poll rigging during the country's general elections continues.
The one common theme between all major cities across the world is hope and the promise of new opportunities and possibilities that gravitates people towards them.
The reason why we advocate green transformations is because you can retain the building and you can actually modify.
There's a lot that happens when you extract sand beyond sustainable limits. It's going to change your course of your river, it's going to widen the channel, it's going to damage, and we are paying a big price.
We have 2 water reservoirs on 84 acres of land. During periods when the river water is non-saline, we store water in these reservoirs. Throughout the year, we distribute this water to residents.
Tiny houses are in vogue. Less is more. Many also assume tiny homes are more eco-friendly. In a world
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Kuranan. Moving on, the Indian Air Force conducted Exercise Vayu Shakti-24 near Jaisalmer in Indian state of Rajasthan. The exercise saw the participation of Tejas, Prachand and Dhruv as well as Rafale, Mirage 2000, Sukhoi 30 MKI and Jaguar among others. The event began with 3 Chetak helicopters trooping the national flag and the Air Force ensign, flying past the grandstand with the national anthem playing in the background. This was followed by a perfectly timed sonic boom created by Rafale aircraft. In keeping with this year's theme of the exercise, lightning strike from the sky over 120 aircraft displayed the IAF's offensive capabilities. Well, more than 50 countries are going to participate in the 12th edition of Milan exercise, which will be held at India's Visakhapatnam from Monday, that is 19th of February. The 9-day exercise would be an excellent platform for the participating navies to share ideas to enhance security on the high seas and ensure safety of maritime commerce for growth and prosperity of all. In addition to building bridges of friendship and strengthening of relationship, sea exercise would enhance interoperability, enable exchange of best practices and will boost confidence to undertake missions together in the future to tackle common challenges. Well, in the wake of the cholera outbreak in Zambia, India sends humanitarian assistance to the country. The aid, weighing approximately 3.5 tons, comprised water purification supplies, chlorine tablets and ORS sachets, was handed over by Indian High Commissioner to the government of Zambia. Zambia has been reeling under an outbreak of cholera over the past few weeks, which had prompted a closure of schools in the country. The outbreak began in the Zambian capital region and by early January 2024 had killed around 333 people. And with an aim to boost bilateral ties between India and Taiwan, a memorandum of understanding was signed between the two countries to enable Indian migrant workers to work in Taiwan. The MOU promises mutual benefits with the people of both nations. The signing of agreement comes at a time when a labor-strapped Taipei looking to extend its foreign workforce outside its Southeast Asian sources. And at the invitation of India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Prime Minister of the Greece, Kyriakos Mitsotakis, will pay a state visit to India from the 21st to 22nd of February 2024. Greece PM will be the chief guest and keynote speaker at the 9th Raisina Dialogue 2024 in New Delhi. Visiting Prime Minister will be accorded a ceremonial welcome at the forecourt of Rashtrapati Bhavan. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and PM Mitsotakis will hold bilateral discussions. India-Greece relations have been elevated to strategic partnership during PM Modi's visit to Greece in August 2023. This would be the first bilateral head of state or government level visit from Greece to India after 15 years. And India emphasized the urgent need for comprehensive reform of the UN Security Council. India thus questioned the dominance of the 5 permanent members over the collective voice of 188 member states. India's permanent representative at the UN Ambassador Ruchira Kamboj stressed that equity must be the cornerstone of global efforts to reform the 15-nation UN body. Ruchira Kamboj was speaking at the Intergovernmental Negotiations on Security Council reform. Kamboj also highlighted the need to redress centuries of injustice.
As we embark on the crucial task of reforming, or should I say comprehensively reforming, the United Nations Security Council to better reflect the realities of our world, the clarion call for equity, which will be the focus of my presentation, resonates louder than ever. Equity demands that every nation, irrespective of its size or power, be afforded an equal opportunity, and I stress the word here, equal opportunity, to shape global decision-making. How much longer will the will of 5 members continue to override the collective voice of 188 member states? This must change.
And updates now on Russia-Ukraine conflict. Ukraine has urged allies to send more weapons as President Volodymyr Zelensky said there is a shortage of weapons in Ukraine on Saturday. He was speaking at the Munich gathering.
Our actions are limited only by the sufficiency and length of the range of our strengths. But what does not depend on us? And Avdiivka situation proves this exactly. Dear friends, unfortunately, keeping Ukraine in the artificial deficit of weapons, particularly in deficit of artillery and long-range capabilities, allows Putin to adapt to the current intensity of the war.
Well, Italian Foreign Minister Antonio Tajani reacted on it, saying Italy is ready to offer more military aid to Ukraine, adding Rome had already approved 8 support packages for Kyiv at Munich gathering on Saturday.
Italy approved the package number 8 on military support. I think that they are arriving in Ukraine in these days, and we're ready for doing more. The message to Russia is very clear. Ukraine will be member of the European Union, and then we are working for having Ukraine member of NATO.
Meanwhile, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz has said we do not want a conflict between Russia and NATO. The reaction comes in days after Donald Trump said he would encourage Russia to attack any NATO member that did not meet its defense spending quota.
Die Bedrohung durch Russland ist real. Darum muss unsere Fähigkeit zur Abschreckung und Verteidigung glaubwürdig sein und glaubwürdig bleiben. Dabei gilt weiterhin, wir wollen keinen Konflikt zwischen Russland und der NATO. Deshalb sind sich alle Unterstützer der Ukraine seit Beginn des Krieges einig, wir schicken keine eigenen Soldaten in die Ukraine. Zugleich müssen Putin und die Militärs in Moskau verstehen, wir, das stärkste Militärbündnis der Welt, sind in der Lage, jeden Quadratmeter unseres Bündnisgebiets zu verteidigen.
Well, President Joe Biden has termed the existence of NATO as critical for the U.S. His comments came as he asserted that as long as there is NATO, the U.S. has allies which help it defend to any future challenges. The remarks underscore the urgency of passing a $95 billion foreign aid package for U.S. allies.
As long as there's NATO, we have allies that are competent and have defended us. And by the way, the only time Article 5 has been invoked is when we were attacked on 9/11. So the idea that we're going to walk away from Ukraine, the idea that we're going to let NATO begin to split is totally against the interests of the United States of America, and it is against our word we've given since all the way back to Eisenhower. So it's about time we make sure that Congress come home and pass the legislation funding NATO. It's critical. Our security depends on it.
And earlier, the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said that the Commission will present a defense industrial strategy proposal in 3 weeks.
Wir müssen mehr investieren.
We must invest more, we must invest better, and we must invest European, which is why we as the EU Commission will next month present a strategy on the European defense industry.
Zur europäischen
And now an update on expansion of NATO membership. Hungary could ratify Sweden's NATO membership at the start of its spring session, set to begin on 26th of February. Hungary is the only NATO member yet to ratify Sweden's application to join the alliance, which it filed following Russia's 2022 full-scale offensive in Ukraine.
Together with the Swedish Prime Minister, we have taken important steps to restore confidence. We are going in the direction that at the start of Parliament's spring season, we can ratify Sweden's accession to NATO.
Well, the Russian Defense Ministry said Ukrainian forces left Avdiivka and were entrenched at the nearby Avdiivka coke and chemical plant after Russian units took full control of the town in Ukraine's Donetsk region on Sunday. Russian Defense Ministry spokesman Igor Konashenkov said measures are being taken to completely clear the city of militants and to block Ukrainian units that have left the city. Ukrainian military withdrew its troops from the devastated town. The advancement in Avdiivka was Moscow's biggest advance since it took the city of Bakhmut last May. Well, Britain will give an additional 18-month extension for Ukrainian visa holders who are eligible to stay in the United Kingdom. The first visas, which granted 3 years leave in the UK under programs such as Homes for Ukraine, the Ukraine Family Scheme and the Ukraine Extension Scheme, are set to expire in March 2025. The extension means those who came on the first visas under one of the Ukraine visa schemes could now stay in the UK until September 2026 and have the same rights to access work, benefits, healthcare and education. Well, Israeli President Isaac Herzog met with the Prime Minister of Qatar, who has been trying to mediate a ceasefire in the Gaza conflict. Herzog also urged to the release of hostages to remain a top priority on the world's agenda. He addressed to the audience at Munich Security Conference, where a group of family members of hostages were demonstrating with posters calling for the release of their relatives captured by Hamas. The Egyptian and Qatari mediated talks to try to reach a ceasefire in Gaza and secure the release of over 100 Israeli hostages being held in Hamas have yet to produce results. Well, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said he had sent negotiators for truce talks in Cairo as requested by U.S. President Joe Biden, but they did not go back for further talks because Hamas' demands were delusional. He said there was no point in further negotiations until Hamas makes changes to its demands.
This negotiation requires a firm stand. I must tell you, citizens of Israel, that until this moment, right up until this moment, the demands of Hamas are delusional. They want to defeat Israel. Of course, we will not agree to them, but when Hamas drop these delusional demands, we can move forward. We will continue fighting until all goals are achieved.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. Amid health concerns, Thailand's ex-PM Thaksin released on parole. Following a scandal, Hungarian PM Orbán pledges new child protection law. And point to ponder as new research by the WHO asserts that the burden of cancer is rising globally, especially in low and middle income countries.
In a world that never stops, where information shapes our reality, one app stands out, helps you stay ahead of time. Introducing the DD India app, your gateway to a world of news right at your fingertips. Your most trusted source of news goes global, goes digital. Explore a world of options, top stories, live updates, in-depth analysis, and more. Stay informed wherever you are. Real-time alerts keep you ahead of the curve always. The DD India app, connecting you to the world one story at a time. Download now and explore the world of knowledge, insights, and authentic information.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and time now for a quick recap of the headlines. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar says difficult to have unidimensional relationships in the contemporary world. Highlights historicity of New Delhi's ties with Moscow and Washington on sidelines of Munich conference. India provides humanitarian aid to Zambia amid cholera outbreak, sends purification supplies, chlorine tablets and ORS sachets. India showcases its offensive capabilities. Indian Air Force displays unparalleled firepower at Pokhran through Exercise Vayu Shakti-24, while Indian Navy to host the international maritime event Milan 2024 from Tuesday. And moving on, African leaders at the 37th African Union Summit are prioritizing peace, development and integration. The two-day summit of the 55-member bloc, which concludes on the 18th of February, comes as the continent wrestles with coups, conflicts, political crisis and regional tensions. DD India's Isaac Lucando has more.
The summit unveiled the Union's theme for this year, which focuses on providing education and skills for 21st century Africa. With the continent projected to have the youngest and largest workforce globally by 2050, leaders are emphasizing quality education for Africans. Another burning issue at the summit is the resurgence of military coups. Criticism of the bloc's ineffectiveness in resolving conflicts on the continent persists. This is because efforts to influence countries facing recent coups have not borne much fruit. The focus of the 55-member bloc has also extended to reforming the global financial architecture. Leaders at the summit have committed to establishing an African monetary union and related financial institutions. They say these initiatives aim to foster hope for Africa's 1.2 billion people. Isaac Lucando in Dar es Salaam, reporting for DD India.
Well, in Croatia, thousands of supporters of opposition parties rallied in central Zagreb on Saturday, demanding early elections in a protest triggered by allegations on trial for corruption. Protesters filled St. Marcus Square in front of Croatia's government building, waving flags and signs. Sandra Bencik of the left-wing Muzemo party told protesters they wanted to see more people staying in Croatia rather than migrating for economic opportunities elsewhere. The opposition say incoming Attorney General Ivan Turudic should resign and the parliament which voted for him should be dissolved. Croatia is scheduled to hold parliamentary and presidential elections later this year. Well, political uncertainty persisted in Pakistan as thousands of supporters of jailed former Prime Minister Imran Khan's party took to the streets protesting alleged poll rigging during the country's general elections. Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf supporters protested in the capital, Islamabad and Karachi and Peshawar. In Lahore, police briefly detained lawyer Salman Akram Raja, who contested the polls as an independent candidate backed by the PTI. He was later released. Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf leaders addressed a press conference in Islamabad on the alleged rigging, calling it a massive assault on democracy. Khan and his party say that the election results were rigged, who should have won even more seats. The caretaker government and Pakistan's Election Commission have rejected the allegations and said the country has laws and systems to investigate specific complaints. Moving on, Thailand's jailed former Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra was released on parole on Sunday. Thaksin returned to his family's Bangkok residence on Sunday morning after having completed parole proceedings. The influential billionaire was in hospital detention for 6 months for abuse of power and conflicts of interest. His sentence had been commuted from 8 years to 1 by the country's king. Thaksin was eligible for parole due to his age, health condition and time served, and had been detained in hospital on health grounds. And former US President Donald Trump launched his own line of sneakers at the Sneakers Con convention, a day after he was ordered to pay nearly $355 million over a New York civil fraud conviction. The convention was held in the city of Philadelphia in the northeastern state of Pennsylvania. After leaving Philadelphia, Trump appeared at a rally in Michigan. Meanwhile, Trump supporters braved freezing temperatures in Michigan as they waited to see the former president speak at the campaign rally. Several of his supporters said they weren't concerned about Trump's legal issues, with some saying the charges were bogus and politically motivated. In Senegal, hundreds of people marched through the streets of country's capital, Dakar, on Saturday, the day after President Macky Sall postponed elections for his successor to obey a court order that overturned his declaration to postpone the upcoming presidential election. The Constitutional Council intervened, and the president, under growing pressure at home and abroad, vowed to organize the elections as soon as possible without any date being set. The crowd carried Senegalese flags and scarves, picket signs and shouted slogans like "Macky Sall is a dictator" and "No to postponement." Also, Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán promised to strengthen the legal protection of children during a speech on Saturday following a scandal that led to the resignation of some of his key allies. The move sent tens of thousands of people in the streets of Budapest to rally against him. In a speech to his supporters, Orbán tried to defuse the row over a sex abuse case pardoned by President Katalin Novak that caused public uproar and led to her resignation. Friday's protest was the biggest rally against Orbán's government for years.
The Hungarian child protection system must be strengthened. It must be reviewed, amended throughout, and strengthened from the constitution to the ministerial rules. The sufferings of the victims obligate us. It obligates us to enforce the leadership of the child protection institutions and its supervision and the regulations and limitations of those who work there. We will have to table all these together to Parliament in the form of a new child protection law.
Kegyelemnek ilyenkor helye nincs. Ezért a lemondás helyes volt.
Well, a new research by the World Health Organization shows that globally, the burden of cancer is rising, with approximately 56% of all new cases being reported in low and middle income countries. And in Uganda, a study has found that people living in the capital of Kampala are more likely to suffer from cancer than any other part of the country. Leon Sendyange looked into the factors at play.
Timely access to cancer treatment saved Agnes Nachintu's life. She was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2016, but she fought and survived it.
I started my treatment on herbal medicines.
they did not help much because I still had a lot of pain. I had to go to the hospital and started my treatment in stages.
Agnes was among the few people in Uganda who are able to receive treatment early. Health experts say most cancer patients are opting for herbal therapies rather than conventional methods. Statistics from the National Cancer Institute also indicate that only 23% of recorded cancer patients can access treatment.
And there are many areas or gaps that we have identified as Cancer Institute, such as the distance to care, and also, of course, affordability and accessibility to care that have been difficult for our patients. And part of what we have started under this National Development Plan 3 is actually to establish regional cancer centers.
The current national estimates show there are about 34,000 new cancer cases every year, and about 10% of all cancer cases were reported in children. For the men, the most common diagnosis is prostate cancer. For the women, it is cervical and breast cancer. For the government, narrowing the gap of access to cancer care has now become a priority. The Ugandan capital, Kampala, recorded more than 5,600 cancer cases between 2017 and 2022. That is 16% of the national total. The Uganda Cancer Institute says lifestyle choices have a role to play, as does the increasing consumption of food contaminated with the poisonous mold called aflatoxins that is commonly found in groundnuts, sorghum and maize crops, staple diets in East Africa.
There is a cancer we call cancer of the liver that is brought about by a number of factors. Infection like hepatitis B can cause cancer of the liver. But there is also the consumption of foodstuffs that are not well, I would say, processed.
One way the government hopes to improve cancer treatment in the coming years will be through new care centers. They will cost more than $60 million to set up and will be in the north and western part of the country. These facilities could help thousands of people who are currently forced to travel to the major cancer centers in the Ugandan capital for treatment. Leon Senyange in Kampala, reporting for DD India.
And now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. A landslide triggered by heavy rains in western Bolivia on Friday night has killed 3 and buried tens of houses. Around 60 families were left homeless. Locals were seen retrieving their belongings and assessing damages on Saturday. One firefighter died and several others were injured in a house explosion in Virginia in the United States. 10 firefighters and 2 civilians were transported to hospitals for treatment. An odor of gas was reported outside of the home where a 500-gallon underground propane tank was found leaking. The exact cause of the explosion has not yet been determined. An earthquake of magnitude 5.0 hit near the Mexican resort town of Acapulco on the Pacific coast on Saturday. Residents in capital Mexico City were called to evacuate after the earthquake alarm. No damages have been reported. 14 couples tied the knot at this year's Copenhagen Light Festival in Denmark. The festival features 50 large light installations called Pixel Earth. One of the weddings was of Pixel Earth's artist Frederick Haugs himself. The annual festival will go on till the 25th of February. 11 lions along with 46 other wild animals were rescued from a conflict-torn Sudan on Saturday. The animals were released at South Africa's Lions Rock Big Cat Sanctuary in a rescue operation by animal welfare organization 4 Paws. In an effort spanning 15 years, a group of Japanese experts have restored 16 of Vietnamese artist Nguyen Phan Chan's silk paintings. Chan is believed to be the founding father of Vietnamese silk painting, who possessed many globally recognized artworks. Hundreds of sky lanterns carrying wishes for the lunar year of the dragon formed a spectacular display in the night sky in Taiwan's New Taipei on Saturday. The Sky Lantern Festival was held for the 26th time this year, attracting thousands of visitors from across the world. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Indian Space Research Organisation launches India's latest weather satellite, Naughty Boy. Says post-launch Naughty Boy has behaved obediently. Indian women's hockey team stun world number 3 Australia 1-0 in the FIH Pro League.
The one common theme between all major cities across the world is hope and the promise of new opportunities and possibilities that gravitates people towards them.
The reason why we advocate green transformations is because you can retain the building and you can actually modify it.
There's a lot that happens when you extract sand beyond sustainable limits. It's going to change your course of your river, it's going to widen the channel, it's going to damage, and we are paying a big price.
We have 2 water reservoirs on 84 acres of land. During periods when the river water is non-saline, we store water in these reservoirs. Throughout the year, we distribute this water to residents.
Tiny houses are in vogue. Less is more. Many also assume tiny homes are more eco-friendly.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Now, news from the world of sports. Today is the third day of the third test between India and England underway in Rajkot. With Yashasvi Jaiswal still unbeaten, India came back into the third test against England at the Niranjan Shah Stadium in Rajkot with a lead of 375 runs in their second innings. Having started the day at 207 for 2 after just 35 overs of batting, England were dismissed in their first innings for 319 on Saturday. The 5-match series is poised at 1-1 for now. An Indian women's hockey team stunned world number 3 Australia 1-0 in the FIH Pro League in Rourkela on Saturday. Forward Vandana Kataria scored from a penalty corner in the 34th minute as world number 9 India registered their second win of the tournament and also avenged last week's 0-3 loss to Australia in Bhubaneswar. India will take on USA on Sunday in their final match of the home leg. And on to the World Table Tennis Team Championships. Indian men's table tennis team started their campaign with a convincing 3-0 victory over Chile in Busan, Korea on Saturday. Indian men will be up against Poland on Sunday, South Korea on Monday and New Zealand on Tuesday. The Indian women's team is also scheduled to compete against Hungary on Sunday. Also, Badminton Asia Team Championships Women's Final is underway between India and Thailand at Shah Alam in Malaysia. In the first match, PV Sindhu defeated Supanida Kathatgong 21-12, 21-12. This is the first time that the Indian team has reached the finals of the championship. In the semi-finals, India registered 3-2 victory over Japan. And Indian athletes have secured gold medals at the ongoing Asian Indoor Athletics Championships in Tehran. Athlete Jyoti Yaraji won the gold medal in the women's 60-meter hurdles. Jyoti beat her own national record by clocking 8.12 seconds. She had clocked 8.13 seconds in the same event last year. Meanwhile, Harmilan Bains clinched the gold medal in the women's 1500-meter event. She scored a timing of 4 minutes 29.55 seconds. And Tajinder Pal Singh Toor won the gold medal in shot put. He won the final match with a throw of 19.72 meters. And former South African cricketer and coach Mike Proctor has passed away at the age of 77. Proctor suffered a complication during surgery and went into cardiac arrest while he was in the ICU. An all-rounder cricketer, Mike Proctor was the first coach of the South African team in the post-apartheid era. The cricket legend played 7 test matches in his career. He also served in the panel of match referees in the International Cricket Council. Proctor played 401 first-class games, scoring 21,000 3,936 runs at an average of 36.01 with 48 hundreds and 109 50s. And France captain Kylian Mbappe has informed Paris Saint-Germain that he is leaving the club in July as a free agent 7 years after joining them, according to a website. Mbappe signed for PSG from Monaco in 2017 for $194 million to become the second most expensive player ever. The 25-year-old striker, who helped the capital club win 5 Ligue 1 titles and 3 French Cups, is PSG's all-time leading scorer with 243 goals and 290 appearances. Mbappe last year sent a letter to PSG stating that he would not take up the option to extend his contract by a year when it expires in June. Well, India achieved another milestone in its use of geosynchronous orbits for weather studies on Saturday evening with a successful launch of its third-generation meteorological satellite, INSAT-3DS. The satellite aims to monitor the Earth's surface and carry out oceanic observations. More in this report.
L40 stations are ignited. ISRO's satellite INSAT-3DS aboard GSLV F-14 successfully took off from Sriharikota, Andhra Pradesh on Saturday. Known as Naughty Boy, this satellite aimed to provide the vertical profile of various meteorological parameters of the atmosphere and boasts satellite-aided search and rescue services. Congratulating the team, mission director said, Naughty Boy is behaving obediently.
The Naughty Boy has now become and matured as a very obedient and disciplined boy. And so like PSLV, GSLV has also become a very robust vehicle for ISRO. So I congratulate and salute all the ISRO family members on this occasion.
This geosynchronous satellite launch vehicle, GSLV, is a 3-stage 51.7 meter long launch vehicle having a lift-off mass of 420 tons. The first stage comprises a solid propellant motor having 139-ton propellant and 4 Earth storable propellant stages strap-ons which carry 40 tons of liquid propellant in each. The second stage is also an Earth storable propellant stage loaded with 40-ton propellant. The third stage is a cryogenic stage with a 15-ton propellant loading of liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen. Funded by the Ministry of Earth Sciences, the primary objectives of the mission are to monitor Earth's surface, carry out oceanic observations and its environment in various spectral channels of meteorological importance.
We have a 38,000 plus kilometer apogee has been accomplished with no other issues with respect to inclination. So it's a very perfect mission. Little overperformance that has been given to the satellite, which increases its life, as already told by Director URSC. And all of you know this satellite is a third in the series of INSAT series of satellites meant for the weather and the disaster warning related activities.
Various departments of the Ministry of Earth Sciences, including Indian Meteorology Department, will be utilizing the satellite data to provide improved weather forecasts and meteorological services. With Aisha Khanam in Bengaluru, Faiz Khan for DD India.
Well, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter and Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.